My name is Sue Fry. I am a mother, a grandmother, a sister, a wife, an artist, a singer, a dog lover, and I have HIV. My doctor had to come to the house one day because I was vomiting and I was urinating and so on uncontrollably, and I had awful pain in my tummy. And what had happened, there was a perforated bowel, and this was caused by adhesions from an ovarian cyst operation. And so they had to go in and take part of the bowel because and also they had to deal with all of the infection in the body as a result of the bursting of the intestines. And then they had to give me blood as well. So that's where I got the HIV, from the tainted blood.
Can you speak to the stigma at all?
So there was none of that. And the only thing that that I saw as far as that was concerned is there was a little restaurant in town, and this one gal, she was very outspoken, and when I wasn't there, my friend was there, she talked out about, I don't want her to come here again because we have to clean everything with Javex after she comes and whatever she touches and so on, because she wasn't educated. She didn't know that if she should just keep it clean for everybody, because I might get some illness from someone else more readily than I would give anything to her.
Did it hurt? Did it sting?
Oh yes, it was it's upsetting. And that's why education is so important. And that's why I spoke at the church. I think there are a lot of positive things that resulted from that, and absolutely it changes your life. And you can make it what you want of it, because you have to develop different interests. Like, for example, my husband and I, he was instrumental in helping me get onto a board for children and families with AIDS, and for 4 years we were involved in that. So I was able to help a friend of mine and her family, and my own family, and so on, and also develop different interests. Like, I was teaching French initially, but then when I went to Cannington, I got my art certificate for teaching art, and so I got interested in that. And then because of the AIDS and the presentation at the church, I saw this woman in the congregation who was asking questions, and I asked who it was, and my father-in-law knew her, Ruth Belbeck, and she became my best friend and art teacher.
Isn't that interesting? And you would never have met her otherwise.
I wouldn't have become so close.
Mm-hmm. She's been a real rock for you. Yeah.
For sure. I have a letter in there that that she wrote to me on my 65th birthday. Our friendship is one that no one can destroy or come between. We're like two halves of a whole. I love you forever.
The biggest support for people with HIV is to have people in their life who absolutely do not care about how they got the virus. And this often people talk about this, that they would like to just be able to say they have HIV without a lot of explanations. And the people that they tend to sort of navigate towards in terms of friendships or feeling supported are the people who don't care. They just take it as fact that they're a person living with HIV and they accept them for who they are. And then, of course, it's really important for people with HIV to be supported by their friends and family. That makes a big difference in terms of how well they do with their HIV and how well they cope. And we know that in order to live with HIV for a long period of time, you need to be able to become resilient. And the way that you get resiliency, one of the ways that you get resiliency is through having a good support network. And so it would be things like people who that people feel comfortable talking to, people who don't care that they have the virus, people that don't treat them any differently than they did prior to knowing that they had the virus. And they are people that generally can be practically helpful, so sometimes people actually feel really fatigued and maybe don't feel like cooking, or they may need transportation to a medical appointment, or they may need help taking care of their children. And a good friend or a good family member would sort of automatically be in tune with that. But with a person with HIV, it's really important, because fatigue in particular is such a big ongoing issue. That kind of practical support, as well as the emotional support, is really, really relevant and important.
If you're newly diagnosed, you have to find out about the illness first. And you do that by going to places like PARN, going to the doctor and reaping all the information, making sure they answer your questions, making sure that the doctor will, if he doesn't answer your questions during a visit, has a telephone number that you can call him if you have a real serious question after hours, so to speak, on the weekend. And then from there, get people aware that you can trust, and so that you can talk to more and more people about it, because any traumatic experience is relieved by talking to someone you trust. That's absolutely essential. It shouldn't be something that's feared. It's something that's feared when you get it and you don't know what it's doing to you, and then you have to learn about it and learn how to control it, that's for sure. And it's going to change your life, because you can't do the same things that you did before. As far as the viral medications, they don't make you feel better. They kill the virus. Okay? They give you diarrhea. They make you tired. They do all sorts of things. It's the supplements and the sleep and the things that you do to make your life positive that keep you going.
If you first find out that someone that you care about has HIV, the most important thing is to learn for yourself what the illness is about. And I actually don't think that that's any different than anybody else who's diagnosed with any kind of illness. So you educate yourself about it, and you provide support in helping them navigate through the things that they need to navigate through when they're first diagnosed. And that are things like, you get this information and you're very honored to have received it, because disclosure about a medical condition is actually a moment of intimacy between two people. And so you should feel honored that you have this information, and you can help people in terms of helping them tell other people about this, because disclosure is such a huge issue. The other thing is to make sure that you don't make the information about you. The information is about them, and to be supportive about that, and also to be able to help them navigate through the complicated things that are coming ahead. So just being really supportive, understand that it's a privilege to get that information. It's a sign of intimacy, and also to to recognize that it's important that it's not your information to pass on, that gossiping about somebody's illness is inappropriate at any time, but particularly with HIV, because it's still associated with a fair amount of stigma, it's really just important that you keep that information to yourself, or ask the person, do I have your permission to tell somebody else?
I think it started to change to the positive when I got used to taking the medication and learning how to make myself healthy, and then going into the community and talking about it at the church, for example. And then through Ruth, I developed an interest not only in art but also in music. We both go to the choristers to sing every week now. So all of these things help you, and they're not as demanding as teaching. You haven't got work all day, do your homework at night and go and that kind of thing, and do all the extracurricular too, especially in public school. So when I was able to do the things like art that I enjoyed, and music, I love to sing too, then it made life happy and made you it made it even better. It's a very positive result of getting AIDS. And not only do I'm able to enjoy my art more, but I have a best friend from it too, because she's my teacher.
Although sometimes you think that getting an HIV diagnosis may in fact be the worst thing that could ever happen to you, in actual fact there are some people who talk about it as being a life-changing event in a positive way. And I think the reasons for that have to do with lifestyle changes that people decide to make once they learn that they're HIV positive. For example, I think people feel like their life could be shortened, and so it makes the time that you have left when you're looking forward, makes the time that you have left as being precious. And because you see life as precious, you start to make decisions that maybe are in your best interest, that can really change your life. For example, we've seen people who have used drugs decide to not use drugs. We have seen people who didn't eat well decide to change their diet. We've seen people increase the intensity of their relationships with other people because they feel like they can't be bothered with relationships that don't have any meaning. So they take the exquisiteness of life and use that as their guide and move forward. That's not everybody. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the skills to do that. Depending on when you're diagnosed, depending on what kind of life skills you've had up until that moment, will help you to move forward in whatever way that you do. But for some people, it changes their life in a positive way, and it can also give your life meaning. It can, in that some people choose to become AIDS advocates and activists, and maybe before they'd been directionless, not really sure where to go with their life, but they can use it as a center point to move forward, move the cause forward, and also have the benefit of their personal experience to bring to the movement.
I don't feel it's a death sentence because I was able to, my body was able to accept what they gave me. I didn't feel that way. I think you have to have the right attitude, and you have to do what you're told, or the viral medication won't work. If you consume a lot of alcohol and caffeine, the viral medication does not work well. So you don't do those things, do you? I think it's always good to remind yourself of the fact that this needs to be, HIV needs to be well known. It's something that should be talked about, just like cancer was not talked about initially. HIV hopefully will get to that stage where people can recognize that it's something that you should be educated about and that you can prevent and therefore should be talked about.